irredentism is when a group of people feel tied culturally and geographically and historically to a piece of land. A lot of times you see the word reclaiming used. It doesn't necessarily have to be land that is reclaimed, but land that is tied culturally, geographically, and historically to a group of people. And it is the effort of people to unite by taking that land that is thought to belong to the nation represented by a state. So the perfect example of this, if my definition isn't super clear, is the concept of manifest destiny in U.S. history. If you remember, and even if you haven't had U.S. history in high school, you guys have done it in 8th grade and maybe a few times even before that. And manifest destiny is something that's going to creep up in all these classes. The idea that the United States should govern and control all the territory from the Atlantic to the Pacific, that is the idea, is the concept behind manifest destiny. In order to do that, the United States had to explore lands that were unexplored. They had to literally take lands that were conquered by other groups or that were controlled by other groups like Mexico. And so that is an example of irredentism. We've felt like it is our destiny to have that land as part of our country. And so it belongs to us because we feel so attached to it. That's what irredentism is. Other examples of irredentism is Serbia and Croatia. We talked about the breakdown of the Yugoslavia and the Balkans. When Serbia was trying to create a greater Serbia in that region by taking over lands that had a large minority of Serbs, they did it because they felt like that land should be theirs. They have a bunch of Serbs living there. That's irredentism. The Germans wanted to expand during the years leading up to World War II. They were looking for living space. Hitler called it Lebensraum. So they annexed the Sudetenland. They took over Austria. They took other lands. They believed that it belonged to the Germans because there were German-speaking people living in those areas. That's irredentism. The most recent example of this that made the news, and it's still being talked about today in many ways, is Ukraine. And in particular, this little area called Crimea. This is the Crimean Peninsula. I know it doesn't look like a peninsula, but I mean, it's attached, so it's a peninsula. And the Russians came in 2014 and just took it. They occupied it and just took that land because it belonged to them. Well, why did it belong to the Russians? By the way, the majority of the West certainly doesn't agree and doesn't recognize that. But the Russians believe that, hey, this belongs to us because it's almost entirely ethnically and linguistically Russian, right? And even a lot of people here wanted to be part of Russia, and so they feel more, I guess, Russian than they feel Ukrainian. And so you can actually see this division, the blue and the red over here, and this here is the way they voted in 2010. I cannot pronounce these dudes' names. I wish I could. Sorry, but the red states, they live closer to NATO, closer to the Western world, and so they wanted to be closer allies with the West, and so they were looking at Western policy and things like that. The group in the East, a lot of them are Russian speakers, as you can see over here, by Russian as a native language, and most of them feel more closely and ethnically and nationally tied to the Russians, and so they want leaders that are more pro-Russian. And so you really kind of see a real tug of war between those who are more loyal to the West versus those who are more loyal to Russia, going on right here, kind of like a microcosm within Ukraine. And so, linguistically, politically, this part of Ukraine is way different than the rest. And so Russia came in and occupied Crimea, and also often you can see them interfering with politics in eastern Ukraine as well. And so this here is the most recent example of what we would look at and call irredentism right here in the news. You still hear people talking about this today. And again, it's just when you take the land because you feel like it should belong to you on account of the fact that people living there are just like you.